So I want to do another video talking about a couple of different psalters and basically my gateway into praying the daily office. And I've been thinking about it. Where did this start? And of course, having been Orthodox in the Orthodox Church for a while and praying morning and evening prayers in the prayer book was a start to that. I always had a fondness for the Jordanville prayer book, the red prayer book, hardback, and I spent many hours, days, years with that book, and it was a constant companion for a lot of years, and it's significant. I tried other prayer books. I tried so many different when I was introduced to prayer book praying, but I just never could let go of that Jordanville prayer book. It was just so meaningful, and I actually pasted like icons in the front and back, and pasted other prayers in the back, and just different things that so I just kind of made it my own. But I think one of the things that really, in addition to the prayer book, was My Daily Psalm Book, put out by the Confraternity of the Precious Blood. And this is a Catholic publication, but this book was actually given to me by Orthodox Bishop James Carrazza in San Francisco. Just a little backstory. I had the pleasure of meeting Bishop James and being his attendant during a retreat. We had a church retreat where Bishop James was the guest speaker, the guest lecturer, and he was there, I guess, 3 nights, 3 days, and did liturgy. We did liturgy together and whatnot. And he had different lectures, and I had the privilege of staying in the cabin next to him, and was able to be his attendant, to make sure he was taken care of, to take him to and from services, and to assist him with vesting and all that kind of stuff. That was a beginning of an interesting relationship. I mean, we're on opposite ends of the country, so I once he left, he and I began to be pen pals, and I began to try to write him as much as possible, and ask for his guidance, and really, well, I'd kind of hoped that I could convince him to be my spiritual father, and to be my to go deeper with that, but it didn't work out. But one of the letters he sent me this standard letter, standard envelope, and it was thick. It was super thick, and I opened it up, and he had put this in it, and in his letter he had said that um, he he recommended that I start reading the Psalter, daily Psalter, and I started just on his on his suggestion, began to read. And if you're not familiar with this, I really encourage this. I've given this as gifts before, and I really like it. It's one of those, I spent a lot of time with this. Especially, I mostly prayed matins out of this. Matins for me is my favorite service, my favorite Orthodox service of all time. I just love matins. And so most of the time I would just pray. I would pray the Psalter, the matins portion, every day. And this is broken down. It has all the Psalms in it. It's not in order, but it's done in a way where it's daily. It's Sunday through Saturday. And the 7 hours of prayer are broken down per day. So you start with matins and you go into lauds, and then from lauds into prime, and then prime into whatever's next, terce, and terced into sext, and the sext into, it's all through there, through none, and then vespers and compline. So every day has the 7 hours, and the Psalter, the Psalms, the Psalter is broken down per hour, per day, per hour. And so you can read all 7 hours. If you want, you could just use this as a daily prayer, praying the 7 hours of the day, if 7 cycle prayers, if you wanted to. And I never did it that way. I usually just, for the most part, prayed matins every morning. But this kind of got me used to kind of the prayer cycle, daily, the daily and hourly prayer cycle. And I used this for a lot of years, and from that, and I've shown these before. I found all the hardback versions of the Divine Hours when I started getting into Anglican spirituality, and really deciding to, once we had officially kind of departed from the Orthodox Church and was looking for another place to worship, and visiting other churches, and trying to, I had certain criteria, and I had been reading, just not even conscious of it, but I was reading authors, Anglican spiritual authors, and found a tremendous wealth of resources theologically, and prayer, and even the prayer tradition. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so I went back and got these from Phyllis Tickle, the Divine Hours, broken down into, it's broken down by week, and by day, and even by season. So these books are, you can get the whole set. Good luck finding the hardbacks. I actually found some of the softbacks at the thrift store the other day. I didn't buy them, but since I've got the whole set. But that I had, for months last year, started using this, and then and in conjunction with that, I was using the 2019 BCP, and I started out with the BCP just reading the Psalter, reading morning and evening in the Psalter. I wasn't praying the morning, evening, midday, or Compline. All I was doing was reading the Psalter, morning and evening Psalter. Then I would come back to the Divine Hours book, and read morning, midday, and evening in that. And that these two books were my companions for months. I think starting October of last year, I think that's when it was, I just had this desire to start praying more and praying the hours. And so I just started with that, just praying the Psalter and praying the 3 times in this book that and the others. There's a volume of these books. And that was huge. And then I started just slowly doing morning prayers, slowly doing evening prayers, slowly, and I don't do them. I don't, most of the time it's just whatever daily prayer and then go into the Psalter. And then where I'm at today is using the St. Bernard's Breviary. I love this book. Man, I just can't say, I don't even use it in its entirety the way it probably should be used, but I am just over the moon with this breviary, the way it's laid out, and it's you got all the ribbons for all the markings and morning prayers, and I've got that marked, and I most of the time what I do is I come over to the prayers for use of any day in the morning prayers, and I do this in the evening as well. And the specific day, like today is Tuesday, I just pray that. I start my morning prayers with this, then I go straight into the Psalter and pray the morning prayers in the Psalter. Then I'll come over and do the readings, the morning readings in the Scriptures, and then if there's anything else that I want to do, then I'll do that. But that's pretty much how what I do consistently. And then I'll come back and do the same thing in the evenings. I'll go to evening prayers. I'll do the evening Psalter. Then I'll do the evening set of readings. And then I'll just pray. I'll have a time of reflection and prayer and trying to understand maybe what the Lord's trying to show me. And then most evenings I'll pray Compline, and I'll pray Compline in its entirety. I love, and then midday. I don't always do midday, but I love the fact that midday is pretty much focused on Psalm 119, and then you can just read. Every midday you're reading sections out of Psalm 119 for the most part. I find this great because you're getting your Old Testament reading, you're getting a gospel reading, you're getting a proverb reading, you're getting a Psalter reading, and you're getting a New Testament epistle reading in your daily, every day if you follow it, and it's doable. And I've just trimmed it down to where what's doable for me. I've tried to do. I think that's the problem a lot of times we get into when it comes to praying, prayer book praying, or praying in general. We think that we've got to do, just all these prayers and this lengthy, long thing, and it just becomes overwhelming. And so I think you just have to kind of dial in, at least it's been my experience, to have enough grace and to sense that grace and sense just to do what you can do, and be okay with that. And these are the things that I feel like I can do. That I just for me it feels like it's been a huge blessing to be able to have all those readings and all those prayers and to really pray slowly through this and pray doing, learning and continuing to learn how to do Lectio Divina. That's my ultimate goal, is to really hone in on that spiritual readings, so that I just want to hear the Lord. I've said this for a long time, and to various people, but I'm not. For me personally, I'm not interested in apologetics or the defense of the faith. I'm not interested in the debate or arguing. I'm not interested in what I am interested in. I'm not interested in knowing. I'm just not interested in the facts of knowing the Lord. I want to know the Lord in such a way that I can experience Him. My whole spiritual life, from the time I was 20 years old till now, which has been well over 30 years, is has been focused on knowledge. Just learn, school, college, seminary, learn, grow, get all your facts straight, get your systematics down, get your doctrines down, get all this stuff down. And one thing I realized is I came away from all of that, and it was shocking that I knew a lot about Christ, but I really didn't know Christ. I knew a lot of facts. I knew a lot of systematics. I knew a lot of theology, but I didn't know what it was like to actually walk with Christ. And so that's where I've just like, that has been my focus for the last few years, I guess, maybe even last year or two, has been, you know what, all that stuff is important at some level, but I want to know Christ. I want to know what it's like to have relationship with Him, what it's like for Him to speak to me and me to speak to Him, and to have that friendship and that relationship and that deep level of intimacy that I have missed for over 30 years. And so that's where I'm at. That's why I choose this type of prayer and reading. This is why I have gone the direction I have with church, and with more of a liturgical setting and more of a quiet, more and now an Anglican communion, is because I just want to know Christ. I want to walk with Him. And everything that I've seen thus far has led me in that direction. So it's not been easy. It's still not easy. It's difficult, and I'll probably talk about that at some other point. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. If you're interested in prayer book praying, if you're interested in praying, I call it prayer book praying. If you're interested in the daily office and trying to find a graceful way of getting into that, I would highly recommend this little tiny Psalter book, and start using it, using a Book of Common Prayer just to pray morning and evening Psalms, using this as your gateway drug into learning to pray, and then expand from there however the Lord leads. But I think these things are a blessing. They've been a blessing in my life. I've got a whole box over there of prayer books, but most of them are put away. I just keep out what I've been using. All right, thanks for listening, and be blessed.